From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South, and I am Sonia Gray. Student movements in Colombia have been mobilizing throughout the country as part of an indefinite strike over the education budget. A video on social media shows the police firing rubber bullets and tear gas canisters at students from the University of Cauca. The students had been camping outside the government building in Popayan for a week before being forcibly disbanded. Student movements say the government doesn't have the will to find a solution to the financial deficit affecting public universities. They have also called for a meeting with the President, Ivan Duque. Our correspondent Tatiana Patella has been at the protest in Bogota.
We are still here with the student demonstration in Bogota, where they are demanding that the government of Ivan Duque solve the problem of funding for education. The students were in talks with the government, but today they themselves decided to suspend those talks. They say it was because the government told them it had no money to end the crisis in the state universities and denied there was any crisis. The main union federation, the CUT, has joined these protests in the afternoon. A union contingent set off from the centre of the city to march to the Bolivar Square. They are supporting the students and also protesting against President Duque's tax reform, which they say will hurt the poorest in society most. They've also announced that tomorrow the unions, along with the students, the health sector and the campesinos, as well as the progressive opposition, will set a date for a new nationwide agrarian strike. They say this is urgent because many of the policies of this new government hit the poor hardest, and they are not going to let that happen. Although these marches here in the capital have gone off entirely peacefully, in many other parts of the country there have been disturbances provoked by the security forces when they attack students. This has been condemned on social media, and a number of students have been taken to hospital.
Social movements and workers' unions have announced that they are joining the national strike called for by student movements. They are demanding that a proposed reform that raises value-added tax be scrapped.
A call for a nationwide demonstration to protest tax reform and budgetary measures resonates around Colombia. It's being made by pensioners and others from the education and agricultural sectors.
We will be giving the first answer to Ivan Duque's government, saying that we reject the tax reform and demand its withdrawal. That measure is tantamount to robbery, as it will dig deep into the poor man's pockets in Colombia.
Social movements say the tax reform, which includes an increase in value-added tax, is unacceptable. They say this will lead to a hike in the price of basic items, which the most vulnerable already cannot afford. And they say fiscal adjustments in education and pensions will only serve to increase inequality in Colombia.
The core problem is not only bad, but all the measures in their entirety which pretends to impoverishment of middle-class people. And the existence of a middle class is fundamental to democracy because it allows for social mobility, so others can strive to move upwards and have an opportunity to access wealth.
The government and the president have previously stated that there is no other way to address the $14 trillion budget deficit, but center-left parties are not convinced.
Small and medium-sized companies have an unfair advantage. They earn all money from taxes and do not pay duties on unproductive land. The state gives money to these entities and they do not return a coin to any municipality or department. We need to resist and change how we collect the money.
Former vice presidential candidate Ángela María Robledo says Álvaro Uribe's failure to support VAT on basic items is only smoke and mirrors.
No hay que llamarse a mentiras ni engaños.
We cannot fall into lies and disillusions. Who was it that first proposed the tax reform on basic needs? Was it not Álvaro Uribe and his minister? They did it in 2006, and with his neoliberalism, they are doing it again.
Friday, November 9th, social movements, labor unions, students, and farmer organizations, among others, will set a date for the next national strike.
The Central Workers Union of Chile also took to the streets on Thursday to reject what they call the government's anti-union policies. Workers demonstrated in several cities as part of a protest dubbed the Active National Strike. Their main concern is labor reform, but they say they are also rejecting health, education, public transformation, and governmental projects. And Argentina's largest airline, Aerolíneas Argentinas, has cancelled all flights because of a union strike. Workers are demanding a wage increase to combat the country's rising inflation, which is expected to reach 48% before the end of this year. 138 flights and over 15,000 passengers have reportedly been affected so far. Workers for the airline are gathering in the country's main airports, preventing the normal performance of tasks. And finally, healthcare workers in the Dominican Republic are demanding an increase in the government's budget for the ailing sector.
Social organizations stood in solidarity with healthcare providers as they took their concerns to lawmakers' doorstep.
The healthcare sector is falling apart. Our hospitals don't work. We don't have quality medical care. Our demand is clear. We want 3.7% of the GDP for the sector in the 2019 budget.
The workers say they believe a significant financial injection could help decrease infant mortality. Dilapidated and deteriorating infrastructure and a lack of equipment and medication is also crippling the health sector.
Last year, 4,000 babies and mothers died because of inefficient attention. That's 4,000 lives lost. That means 9 people every day. That's a record number. It's a terrible stain and shame on the government, especially when compared to other countries in the region.
Workers from other sectors also joined the protests. They're also demanding a pension increase. Cane field workers are calling for better work conditions.
We are demanding an increase in our pensions so that we can at least buy medicine. We need better pensions and health insurance.
We want the Dominican Republic to have a strong health service, with more investment, free and public. The cane field workers need this to guarantee their rights to good health care. We are being denied this right.
They plan to keep up protest action until their demands are met.
The 17th meeting of the ALBA TPC Alliance is currently taking place in Nicaragua. Member countries of the Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America are discussing political and socio-economic issues during the meeting. Among those attending the meeting are the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Rafael Gonzalez, and Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Glas, and the Bolivian Foreign Minister Diego Pare.
The Bolivarian Alliance, the People's Alliance, has to unite, not only to resist, but also to move forward. This is why we are here, to move forward for the union and integration of our people.
We are celebrating a very important meeting. We need to strengthen the ALBA Alliance and its different committees. We have been working for our people for over 15 years to reach the goals set by our presidents. It is a great honor for us to be in Nicaragua advancing our cause.
Venezuela's national airline Conviasa is adding new routes to its flight roster. Following its special flight to the ALBA conference, it plans to make flights between Managua and Caracas a regular part of its schedule in the near future, but it has also just launched a new regular route service between Caracas and the Bolivian city of Santa Cruz de la Sierra.
The first direct flight from the city of Santa Cruz in Bolivia departed to Caracas on Thursday. This is part of a project to strengthen the ties of brotherhood between both nations. Direct flights will be available 4 days a week.
This will improve integration, it will promote tourism and help the economy of both countries. I think this project that was dreamed by both of our presidents will allow Bolivia to connect not only with Venezuela, but also with Caribbean countries like St. Vincent, Dominica, and another 14 countries.
In Venezuela, the Bolivian culture was present. The goal? To join borders and end with the attempts of building fences between nations, as some international sectors hope to do.
This will connect sibling nations, the people of the ALBA. This is part of an expansion plan for Conviasa. We are planning on going to 7 international destinations. This is the 5th. The next will be Nicaragua, and soon Panama and the Dominican Republic.
With this initiative, Venezuela and Conviasa points towards international integration.
These are hard times, times in which imperialism is trying to prevent the development of our people. This is the time to show more unity. There is still a long way to go, but these are the first steps.
With this plan, more countries can come directly to Venezuela, a plan promoted by this South American nation. The Bolivarian Alliance for the Peoples of Our America, or ALBA, can optimize its main objective: union, development, and international integration.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again in about 2 minutes. Welcome back. Locals in Mexico City are helping the first caravan of migrants pass the time while they rest and wait for the second caravan to reach up to them. They've been entertained by musicians and even a boxing team who helped some of the migrants work on their technique. It was a rare chance to be merry before they continue on their perilous journey towards the United States.
They are very happy that we are here supporting them, that we are distracting them from this situation for a while. They say they can relax, that it boosts their courage and relieves the tension of not being in their country.
We're trying to relax during our journey. They're trying to distract us from the bad times we have gone through and from those that are still to come. But let's go forward. God has been good to us.
Two of the visitors the migrants received were Ruben Albaran and Emmanuel de Real, members of the Mexican rock band Café Tacuba. The pair relayed messages of support for the migrants and called on Mexicans to open their hearts and help them on their journey.
We wanted to use the attention we may get from the media to welcome the migrants and to see that they're being protected and taken care of as they make their way to their destination. We're also here to ask our compatriots to open their hearts, to help them on their way, and to avoid any xenophobia that may arise. It's important that we avoid criminalizing or discriminating these people, because we are all migrants. No one is illegal. At any moment, any one of us may need to start walking, leaving everything behind.
Another form of aid migrants have received in Mexico City is access to computers and smartphones so that they can keep in touch with their loved ones back home. The Mexican Red Cross is offering access to these devices as a form of humanitarian aid. The migrants say being able to stay in touch with their family gives them peace of mind while on the road. And our correspondent in Mexico City, Pablo Perez, is with the first caravan of migrants, and he brings this report.
Here at the Jesus Martinez Sports Complex, which is serving as temporary shelter for migrants, there are two main items for today's agenda. As agreed in the ongoing assemblies held by the migrants, they hope to meet with President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador. AMLO's stance on the caravan is quite different from that of outgoing President Enrique Peña Nieto. AMLO has offered a work visa program for the migrant community, but this meeting has yet to be confirmed by AMLO's transition team. The other item on the migrants' agenda is a meeting with the UN's High Commissioner for Human Rights in Mexico, Jan Jarab. This meeting has not been confirmed either, but migrants plan to head to the OHCHR offices with the hopes of being heard.
We thank Pablo Perez for that report. Now, Ecuador's former Vice President Jorge Glas has been discharged from hospital and transferred back to a maximum security prison. Supporters of the Vice President gathered outside the hospital as he was moved to jail. His health deteriorated after 17 days on a hunger strike. He is serving a 6-year sentence for allegedly managing a corruption scheme involving the construction company Odebrecht. He maintains the charges are politically motivated. Meanwhile, a court has ordered that the former president, Rafael Correa, has to stand trial for his alleged role in a 2012 kidnapping.
Judge Daniela Camacho ordered that Ecuador's former president, Rafael Correa, along with former intelligence agents Raúl Chicaiza and Diana Falcón, and the former Minister of the National Intelligence, Pablo Romero, should go on trial for the alleged kidnapping of Fernando Balda. However, the trial will remain suspended while two of the defendants are outside of the country.
Interpol had every element to process the detention. Now it has elements to call him to trial. The judge has presented strong arguments. She even rejected some of her arguments. This is very coherent. I don't see how this is the red alert on Interpol can be avoided.
Correa's legal team condemned the ruling. His lawyer, Caupolicán Ochoa, said that Judge Camacho took this decision without any technical or legal basis and argued that the whole case is a political persecution against Correa and his supporters.
What we are surprised about is how the judge is reaching conclusions. She did not mention the arguments of Correa's legal team. She just summarized the arguments presented by the prosecution and the accuser's legal team.
The process did not follow the rule of law. The judge said, without any argument, that there was an illicit action. We wonder how they are going to prove that there was a kidnapping.
Members of the Citizen Revolution movement and other supporters gathered outside the National Court of Justice in defense of the former president. They criticized the measures taken by the current government against Correa and expressed surprise that the main public newspaper prepared a front page with the judge's decision hours before she announced her ruling.
This is the kind of justice we have to face in Ecuador, brothers of the Americas and the world. We denounce what is happening to the international community and the abuses of the press that judge with their headlines.
Despite this latest move against the leader of the Citizen Revolution movement, Rafael Correa's legal team insists his fight will continue at the international level, where Correa has already gained a lot of support. According to them, even Interpol has ignored the arrest order requested by the government. Denise Herrera, Telesur, Ecuador.
Peru's public prosecutor Pedro Chavarri has launched an investigation into the former president, Pedro Pablo Kaczynski. This in connection with allegations of vote buying to prevent his impeachment. The investigation is also looking into 4 congressmen and a former minister. Kaczynski was in office from July 2016 until March of 2018, when he resigned over a corruption scandal. Cuban President Miguel Diaz-Canel has met with his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, on his official visit to China. Diaz-Canel was welcomed by Xi Jinping with a ceremony in the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. The leaders spoke about cooperation agreements in different sectors to reinforce mutual ties. The Cuban leader is on an international trip, one of his first since he took office in April. He will next visit Vietnam and Laos. El Salvadorian Theodora Vasquez has received the 2018 Per Anger Prize from the Swedish government. Established in 2004, the prize awards those who have supported the fight for human rights and democracy. Vasquez spent nearly 10 years in prison for murder after she allegedly had an abortion.
The prize is a reminder that we do not stand alone. It's a struggle that has crossed boundaries. Those among us who have regained our freedom are the product of the collective work for the rights of women.
Time now for another short break. More news after this.
Our actions have an impact on the environment. It's our responsibility to change for the sake of our planet. Let's be part of this transition. Watch, preserve, and protect your Green Zone. Wednesdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Israeli bulldozers accompanied by soldiers have demolished a residential building in the Palestinian village of Al-Zaim in the east of Jerusalem. Authorities claim the building has been demolished due to it being built without the required permit. However, the owner of the building has disputed those claims as false. 4 people have sustained serious injuries in a chemical explosion at a factory in the outskirts of Johannesburg, South Africa. A spokesperson for the Johannesburg Emergency Services confirmed that 4 people have been taken to a local hospital with serious injuries. He added that they have not yet established what caused the chemicals to explode. Civil servants in Zimbabwe are going on strike due to deteriorating work conditions. Backed by the trade unions, they said they will march to the cabinet offices on the 9th of November. Union leaders say that their members have become fed up with a government they see as unresponsive to their concerns. 2 staff members of the International Press Rights Group, the Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ, have been released from detention in Tanzania. Angela Quintal and Muthoki Momo were arrested by Tanzanian authorities on Wednesday while reporting for the CPJ. Authorities claim they were arrested for not having the appropriate work visas. A U.S. appeals court has ruled that the government of the President Donald Trump must abide by the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program, also known as DACA. The program was initiated by the former President Barack Obama and allows immigrants brought into the country illegally as children to go to school and to work. Around 700,000 young adults from mostly Latino backgrounds live under the program. Last year, the Trump administration announced that it would look into scrapping DACA on the grounds that Obama exceeded his constitutional powers. The 9th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has decided to uphold the program. And it seems that the race in the U.S. state of Florida is not over. The gubernatorial race between Andrew Gillum and Ron DeSantis is now in the recount range. As of this afternoon, the gubernatorial hopeful gained another 4,414 votes over the incumbent Ron DeSantis, which has put him in the acceptable range for a recount. Deb Hollen, New Mexico's congresswoman-elect and one of the first Native American women elected to Congress in the United States, has said that she plans to open an investigation into missing indigenous women. Speaking exclusively to Democracy Now!, Hollen also spoke about giving a platform to tribal leaders who've been marginalized.
Over the years is missing and murdered indigenous women. And so, I mean, those are, you know, that is an epidemic. That's something that we need to work on. I'll go to Congress to make sure that we are paying attention to the issues that that folks care about. And I mean, missing and murdered indigenous women, yes, we care about that in Indian country, but women care about that issue all over the country. So, so those are the kinds of things I'd like to bring to the forefront of our conversation so that we can solve those issues.
A group of security guards are standing trial for abusing refugees in Europe. Here's more on that and some of the other stories that are making headlines around the world.
At least 29 employees of a refugee shelter are facing charges of abuse and mistreatment of refugees in Germany. The majority of the defendants were security guards at the shelter in Boerbach. They're accused of locking refugees in problem rooms where they were punished for breaking house rules. The defendants reportedly photographed and videoed the abuse. In one photograph, a security guard was posing with his boot on the neck of a handcuffed refugee lying down on the floor. Supporters of Sri Lanka's deposed prime minister brought the streets of Colombo to a standstill to demand that parliament be reopened. Loyalists of ousted Ranil Wickremesinghe gathered at a rally where they condemned the government for sacking him. President Maithripala Sirisena named former President Mahinda Rajapakse as the new prime minister last month and suspended parliament. The move, according to opponents, is illegal and has sparked a constitutional crisis.
When the highest person in the country is acting in an irrational manner, where he has completely forgotten the rule of law, where he has completely ignored the constitution, when he's appointing a prime minister unconstitutionally, absolutely we have no hope in democracy.
Dozens of men volunteered to be trampled over by a herd of cows as part of a tradition to cleanse themselves and bring them good luck, a day after Diwali, the Hindu festival of light in India. Despite the dangers, hundreds traveled to Ujjain district to take part in the ritual. There were no reported injuries.
And we've come to the end of this newscast. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website, tellusyourenglish.net. And join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Tell Us Your English, I'm Sweeney Gray. Thank you for watching.